Hi, it's Sonia. Welcome back to my art YouTube channel. Today I'm pretty excited because I'm going to do a sketchbook tour of this finished abstract mixed media sketchbook. I completed it I've completed this one really quickly. This is between November of last year till just recently, a couple of days ago. And yes, oops, I'm going to move things. Oh yeah, I apologise if there's any sounds because I think next door are doing some work, but I wanted to get on and do this sketchbook tour because I feel like I can talk about it a bit more as it's just recently completed. It's something I'm really into, and yes, I'm gonna try and go relatively quickly for it because it's got a lot of pages. It's a craft sketchbook that I think I got in a pack of 3 off Amazon, and the paper isn't great quality and it's pretty thin, but it does have a lot of pages, which is what I like for this type of work because I am making it every day. I treated it as a daily sketchbook, and actually some days, because I enjoy the process so much, I actually did more than one piece, but it was my way, and I've talked about this lots before, of at the moment to start the day as a warm-up practice, a way of loosening up for myself. And yeah, there are some, I'm not going to go into the processes either because, well, for some of you I'm sure you can just look at the page and see what I've done, but I've also made some process videos on my channel in the past featuring some of these pages actually, and I also do at the moment do process videos for Patreon, my Patreon, which is like $2 a month, and I'm trying to do a process video there every week. And these processes, like for example, I really like this page, so I will stop at pages that I like for the sort of, I don't know, speaking to me at the moment. I can see I've used gold ink and some black gouache, and I like a lot of this is sort of, the reason I do keep the process videos for Patreon is they are a bit more, they're intuitive. It's sometimes about feelings, other things that are coming into art. So yeah, they are, and I guess each day is a new start as well. I like that. I also try to, and I've started a new book, trying to keep notes sometimes. I like if this is my working, I'm also trying to see this as not finished pieces. This is just like my school, like a composition book. It's my working out space. This one I probably thought I was going to come back to, this page. So I use up, like a lot of artists, I often use up old paint now on a blank page to get it started for my next session. Sometimes I use it on pieces of paper on the floor to use for collage. Yeah, this I really like. I think this is watercolour. I did this because I was like, oh, let's test this paper, as you do. And I had some leftover, I think it's watercolour, or is it inks? All I know is I feel like it's almost like some of those Louise Bourgeois. There were some artists, I think it's Louise Bourgeois, did those sort of very inky paintings. Yeah, I mean, this I've left because there's so many pages. I feel like I can be really minimalistic with this sketchbook in a way that perhaps I wouldn't if it was an expensive moleskin, because I'd be like, oh, I've wasted that paper. I'm trying not to look upon that. I don't think that's, sometimes the best art is when you leave things out. Some days I just feel I want the space. I want the white space. So there's a lot of collage. I've got a collage box. This is not stuck down terribly well. Where I put I'm trying to keep to 2 collage boxes, and because otherwise I'm going to end up hoarding paper, and I don't think that's great. So my point is I have to use the stuff in the collage box if I want to refill and add more collage fodder, as it were. But because of that, I do use that. I rummage through that box, the 2 boxes I have now, quite a lot. This one I obviously wanted to go to the other extreme of what would happen if you filled every single corner up in a page and just playing around with colours, filling the whole page and layering. And I think this is like watercolour, oil pastel. It's definitely a mixed media sketchbook. So yeah, sometimes there's just a tiny, as I say, there's quite a few process videos. Sometimes I just start off with a little bit of collage and that's the starting point. Or I might add the collage to the page. It's just addition, and you can even subtract off these pages because, you know, I could come back in and coat this over with white again and just take out what I don't like, or cover it with another paint. Yeah, I love in some ways I really like the texture of this paper. I like that noise, the crinkliness, because it's, you know, it's buckling with some of the water-based paint and yeah. And I'm also, look, you can see the smudging. This is not anything I feel is going to be archival or it's really, but I like this spread here. I really like. I don't know why. I think this one's some of these pages also, I love the fact that I can come back to them during the day, start them and then come back and work on them. Here I started out with a load of metallic marker sort of doodles and shapes, but then I went over it with some, what is this stuff? White paint. I think it's cheap white gouache. And to be honest with you, this is a place to experiment. I thought maybe this would totally cover up the marks, but it was obviously, it's coming through, and I like that effect. So this is something I could then take into work on paper or on canvas. And this sketchbook comes in, I feel, yes, it's abstract, but this comes into my other work as well. It's coming into my landscape work in terms of like adding marks, sort of loosening up a bit, and also to my oh gosh, what's it called, my loose still life sketchbook, which the other reason I'm doing the sketchbook tour now is I've got actually another 3 sketchbooks that I've just finished, so I do want to do tours, intersperse this channel with some more tours. Yeah, colour play. I mean, colours are essential here in terms of, some days I keep it black and white, some days I'm going for all the colours under the rainbow. I've got colours in some ways that I don't really love, and I'm trying to push myself. I like this page. Did I do this? Yeah, this is around. So I'm trying to push myself to use colours also that I don't actually gravitate towards, and then see how I can put another colour against that. This I like. Again, sometimes these, just call them what you want. Call it drawing, call it doodles, mark making. There's something that you can fit. This should go back into here. Fit your mood onto these pages. If you haven't got much energy, you don't have to do much that morning. Some days you just, maybe if you're mad, you can get your anger out on the page. Sometimes it's like, could I link? I guess I'm trying to link shapes. Here, keeping it relatively simple. Whereas you go from this to this, which is completely busy. Have I got too busy? This one I played about with because I can see I've covered a lot of it up with the black. Now under there, I tried to see, like, carry on the sort of tight mark making, and then at the end of the day I didn't feel it worked, so I just covered up with a cheap gouache. I like to use my Caran d'Ache gouache palette, so I think some of these were completed when we were away travelling. I took this book with me. It was actually a really good book to take actually when you're away, because sometimes you can have the best intentions when you're out of town, as it were, but you might not. You might be busy, but you can generally, I feel like in the morning, fit in a 10-minute sketch just to play. Might add more paint at home, but I haven't. Oh, and then sometimes I find bits of old abstracts on paper, or I just like using up paint on paper, and then I like it so much I want to keep it. And it feels like a good way of filing it. Like I could come back and put a post-it note in, and you know, like, this would make quite a nice, I feel like, a painting. Oh, this is fun. I guess greens, keeping to greens, but the shapes. It's always interesting as well, reflecting, because here, I feel this is a sort of a shape that I've been using a lot when I'm using finer markers. Here, really, I had this black bit of paper, and I was like, I'm keeping that. And then how does it, what could I put here? And this is just marker, isn't it? It's super simple. But weirdly, sometimes the simple pages are like, ooh, they're most effective. I like this as well. I don't know why, it's the colours. I like the super simple. Yeah, some of the work I can see I'm still pushing it. This was fun. Just, I think on one side I did this and I'm like, I'm going to repeat it, but just change around sort of the colour combinations. Sometimes I forget to date. Yeah, this I think started off with this collage bits, using up origami paper. Or, and I've kept, I don't know, there's something about, sometimes you see those like junk, sort of people do sort of journaling and they build up the layers in a journal. I guess this is my attempt with this bit of tissue paper, but it was my attempt to see also transparency. What happens to this? Here's a plain marker. What happens if I cover this side up? Like it changes. I kind of like that. What's this? I can use tester papers. Yeah, so I think that was a tester paper. Then I was like, let's insert that. Tiny bits of collage. This is why this book, towards the end, I was a little bit worried. Oh, here's a tip. When you do have your cheaper sketchbooks, don't do what I do, which is sometimes, and you can hear me on video, sometimes when I'm trying to cycle through sketchbooks, because I want to like keep it interesting, I'd chuck them down and on a hard floor, like this is doing okay actually, but I can tell I've got to be a bit careful. It's gonna fall apart if I manhandle it too much. I like this, don't know why. Oh, here, I think no, I thought I'd covered it. Sometimes that's the other thing, when you build up the layers and you get all the sort of it's like a brass rubbing because you're rubbing on top of other collage pages. What would happen if I placed, what's this like? Glue on paper first so that I cannot overthink placement of the collage. Yeah, so this is something I think, I'm glad I'm just going through this because I should take this forward. I like these little post-it notes. So if a process, I've changed it up a bit, I can go back and remind myself if I'm getting bored of what I'm doing. A lot of this sketchbook is about, weirdly, keeping things interesting for myself. Like, how can I keep pushing and it's not, this isn't rockets, this is not, and sometimes that's the thing, I think we tend to overthink, or we see other people's sketchbooks now, oh, I've got to do really great things, which is sounds silly, but like sometimes it's just going back to, yeah, like basics, or just a bit of a glue, like this is, oh, in my collage box I found some old test, you go to paint stores and you get the little cards and I'd kept some, so I was like, let's cut it out, start this page off. But then all I felt like doing was this purple marker drawing. I think this was one of the kids. I liked this segment of the kids drawing, so I stuck it in. And yeah, I think the nice thing about keeping bits of collage material is it can be something to respond to, like play off. Get more collage. A lot of it is collage. Whoa, this is fun. This is and this is something I could go back to. This whole sketchbook, I could go back and I could just cover pages with, this is I think cheap acrylic paint, maybe, or matte acrylic, or is it gouache, leftover paint, and under here is obviously something else, and I've completely covered it up. So I'm subtracting, but this is an old piece that I stuck in. I still kind of liked, and you can see this is layers and layers. This is layers and layers. I mean, yeah, the problem then is obviously these pages will rub. But I like to see it as this is like a working sketchbook for me. So this was a very old bit of collage, and I've gone on top of it. Oh, that's an old painting of it. I can see under there is a tree. But now I've tried to bring it into here, just playing around. Whoa. Last week I was feeling overwhelmed with regard to my art practice stroke work. I want space. I think I've read this one before. Yeah, so, yeah, and I guess then I respond to that, overwhelmed sometimes. If you feel, and this is subjective, like I wasn't, there's no way that I can say, like, I mean, there's nothing, you know, in these times, I think we're like thinking nothing is bad for us personally, because there's so much other stuff going on. But it doesn't mean we don't some days ourselves just feel slightly irritated, want some space. And it's, I don't know, like this for me was a way of giving myself some nice clean space. I need to myself, there is no censure, no inhibitions in this book. I assume I'm writing about free flow, meditative sketchbook. Yes, I believe in what? I can't read my own writing. Thoughts, anyway, but it's also a nice space maybe if you wanna. Oh, I'm feeling, yep. So yeah, it's just like I'm all for. I've spoken about before. I'm all for journaling, and I feel like this is kind of like a bit of a brain dump of a morning sketchbook just to free myself up, because otherwise I think I can get too caught up in my own head and procrastinate. Oh, it took ages to get started, so some days I'm not necessarily doing this in the morning, depends obviously on your lifestyle. I feel the nice thing about this sketchbook though, why I really appreciate it, is it can fit into where you're at in a strange way, because I think sometimes, you know, if you've got these really neat tidy sketchbooks and you're doing detailed drawings in them, and I have done that in the past, that is a bit of, in a way, a little bit more of a commitment, because I don't know why, like, I mean, this sort of thing. So this was an old bit of collage, so I've stuck that in, and then this might have been the only, you know, for that day, I just responded and did that drawing. And the other thing is, I know a lot of people, it's not that easy to just to say, oh yeah, go make art. Like maybe, you know, I want to do a video on this actually. I do feel that making a variety of art is actually good for healthy in some ways, because some people get, if you're too tight, I can show when I do that video, I can show a page of a sketchbook where I was so detailed, like I could feel that I was at risk of, you know, if you're using cheap fine liners, like over risk of tiring out I'm left-handed, you know, like for example, certain crayons take, if you want to put down a lot of area colour, you're using force, you have to use force, and it's the same motion, and you see a lot of time artists, you know, just like tennis players or anybody else doing the same, you can get repetitive strain, can't you? And or you can definitely, you know, and so then and then if you're not feeling 100%, like I've made some days, I think I got, you know, you catch a cold, you've got a head cold, you may not be, you might want to just make quick, easy art. And the other thing is you can use your non-dominant hand. Sometimes I like to give this hand a rest, and also to put some intent on this hand. I mean, yeah, well, you can just stick down some paper. But if you use, oh, and I love sticking in, if I find the kids, like they're like, oh, I don't need this anymore, mummy, chuck this notebook out. But like, I'm like, oh, I don't know, I like to have it with, maybe I'm sort of putting you know, sort of there are like sort of mumps, sarcophagus sort of shapes. It's slightly personal, like, even though it's abstract, and my son's detailed work on paper. But yeah, you can use your right hand. So sometimes if I feel like I need to switch things up, use your right hand, or use things that are going to tire you out, like do a different type of motion, like a paintbrush, or so yeah, hopefully it's not, I like to see this as more of a sort of energizing space for me. Or just one when, if I want to sit with feeling a little bit, I can. Like, I can just sit with it. And this was 5 minutes, but I don't because I did it so quickly, then I think I came back in and painted over it. Oh no, I had a frustrating day. Like, something you can put down, like, if you're making sort of a responsive bit of or intuitive art, like maybe put why, so you can think, can I see that in, because apparently I was frustrated. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily know, but that's how when I made that art, I was feeling. Oh, and to be fair, I've called this a daily sketchbook. It pretty much is, but it looks like it says I missed yesterday, you know, but on the whole, I've made, because I sometimes think I've made more than one piece some days. Some days I've enjoyed it so much I just want to carry on working in it. I definitely did a process video for Patreon on those 2 pages. Well, this was a fun page. Like, this has got little bits of collage. And then I also now, sometimes, like, another tip I can share is, okay, like getting your brush out and water, and even with water-based paints, sometimes you're like, I don't have time to then go and wash. I have, you know, I don't want to keep ruining brushes. So sometimes if I just literally got 5 minutes, I can just use an old piece of paper. I like to have these bits of paper and I keep them, and then I'll like put a few drops of an ink or a paint, some sort of leftover ideally, or cheap paint, and then just smear it across the page. Or blot, like this one I've tried to blot it. But yeah, this one's marker, so some days I'm like, I don't want to get out paints and stuff, I'm just going to do a marker, make marks with a marker. It's getting towards the end. As I say, these are thick sketchbooks. Oh, this was on Valentine's Day, but it's like, maybe I was feeling a bit anti, let's go the other way. I keep saying again, but what I mean is, it's a space where I get to do the work I want to. I can go against trends, I can go against even myself sometimes, like, I don't know, it's just this, like, and I will protect this space, because it has been, this has just been fun, and even at times when I've, for things going on, like I felt a bit heavy, it's been sort of, yeah, just a space also to sit with things as well, as I've said before. But I do think there is something in that, like not always rushing on, trying to be in, not denial, but like, you know, I guess we're all, isn't it, like accepting like what's going on. But yeah, this is fun. This is some collage. So towards the end of this book, I was like, I find ending sketchbooks quite tricky, actually. I know some artists love it. I always feel a bit, And also I was like, the pages were starting to, if I draw too much on this side, it's going to press down on some of that oil pastel. So I was like, this is also a great way at the end for me of sticking in work that I found on paper. Like these I trimmed down, which was interesting because I've resized some of this stuff. And how does it look? You know, like I sometimes like in a very blank sketchbook like this to have a border, because it's almost like you've got your own little art gallery. What would this be like in a big space? This here I've covered this bit. I covered with some, you know, and you get little bits of when you get. I keep old wrapping paper, old weird see-through stuff. Yeah, retrimming. This was much bigger, and I liked this segment, so I just resized it. Started it, I thought I was going to come back because I kept trimming off some work and I had all these little bits left. Here I just really wanted to play with simple collage, and then yeah, stuck in old work. Just kept it simple. Yeah, we're coming to the end. Sometimes it's a good space also to limit your palette colour. You don't have to. Oh, another thing I like to do is if I have a work that I don't love, I sometimes like to come over it with a sort of a more transparent paint. And now it's turned into, so under it was obviously marker and yellow, I can see. But now, because I've covered it with this, I don't know, is that whatever that red paint is, it's a red piece, but I kind of like the shapes. Yeah, and I like that weird with the brush marks. And this is the last page. And this was an old one. I found this old piece and I thought I'll just stick it in. You make me mad. I don't know what that was about. But anyway, so thank you for watching this video. I hope maybe there's some ideas in here for you and your sketchbook practice. Yeah, as always, thanks, and I will see you next time. Bye.